Hi, my name's Janice Wall-Grenadier, and I launched judicialpedia.com 2 years ago. And I'm very proud to say that in May, we had 467,963 views and 81,532 people blocked from being able to view the different cases. Judicialpedia was founded to create a new view of the judiciary, to give us the big data we need to hold the judiciary accountable from the plaintiff and or a defendant's side of what's happening in the courtroom. We have many courts throughout the United States that the judges are picking winners and losers. These are in divorce cases, in guardianships. What we have is an illegal taking of people, an illegal taking of their assets. And we're going to get into this more and more and more. But today I want to unpack a little bit of information on what's in your toolbox in order to get justice, continue to have freedom and liberty. What's being exposed about our government is treasonous. And we, the people, have the right to take back our government. We own the government. We are the ones who the government is supposed to be protecting. Instead, we live in a country where our government is harming us every day. So I've come up with a new way of talking about it. And I'm going to talk about what's in your toolbox for freedom, justice, and liberty. Because those are the things we need. But first we need God. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my strong faith and God actually taking care of me and making sure that I'm given the strength and the courage, because along with fighting for our justice, our freedom, and our liberties comes a lot of fear. And under God, we have a couple of different ways to look at it. A David and Goliath story. My story is a David and Goliath story. And I'm sure that many people out there feel the same thing about their story. And I hope to interview at some point and add your story to what's going to be a complement to judicialpedia.com. Judicialpedia.com is where you can sign in. You have your own dashboard. You put up your legal case, your bar complaint against a lawyer, your judicial complaint against a judge. But to get on back to our toolbox and what we have in our toolbox to ensure justice, liberty, and freedom. And number one is God. And the David and Goliath story talks about the stone that struck the giant and killed him. He had 5 smooth stones. One of them was faith. One of them was obedience, service, prayer, and the Holy Ghost. He was protected in all ways. Justice is a term for what is right or as it should be. Justice, excuse me, I'm a little unorganized, and righteousness are often used together in the Bible. Righteousness is the quality of character of being right or just. It is another attribute of God, incorporated both of his justice and holiness. And then you have the parable of the unjust judge. It's Luke 18, 1-8, where there was this lady and she was persistent. And she kept going back to the judge and going back to the judge. And Jesus, which appears in the gospel, in it, the judge lacks compassion. It's repeatedly approached by the woman seeking justice. The widow is the parable functions as a model for discipleship with respect to persistent prayer. Through her prayer and not taking no for an answer, she continued and continued to go to the judge and was faithful to what she believed in. People in authority have to be held accountable. That is what the widow did. She said to the judge, "It is your job to see that justice is done. Vindicate me against my adversaries." That is what the Lord Almighty said. Administer true justice, show mercy and compassion to one another. So what else do we have in our toolbox? So we unpack it. The Declaration of Independence. And the Declaration of Independence reads, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." The main purpose of the Declaration of Independence was to declare that we were all equal and to take a stance of getting the freedom of the United States to break away with Great Britain. And then we move forward and we have our 4 freedoms. Our 4 freedoms came later in life, and they came under President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. These 4 freedoms were guaranteed us. We did not sign on to the International Court, and we do not have any ability to go outside the United States for justice. Other countries can take their cases to the courts. We chose instead to take care of our own, which we haven't done a great job at. And then we have the Bill of Rights. Probably the most important thing, which came out of the United States Constitution. And the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. It says in 2 different places that due process in the courts. But the Bill of Rights is a freedom of religion, speech, press, assembly, and to petition. The right to keep and bear arms in order to maintain a well-regulated military. What is important about our Second Amendment, and it's the most important amendment we have right now, because we have a government that's overreaching, and it's just not our federal government, it's our state government. Public service is public trust, and very few Americans trust our government right now. No quartering of soldiers, freedom from unreasonable searches and seizures, the right to due process of law, freedom from self-incrimination and double jeopardy, rights of accused persons, the right to a speedy trial and public trial, a right of a trial by jury in all civil cases, freedom from excessive bail, cruel and unusual punishments, other rights of the people, and powers reserved to the states. We went on to add 11 other constitutional rights, or 17 other constitutional rights, which we'll get into in another time. But we don't have just our United States Constitution and our Bill of Rights. Each state has a constitution, and it's important to look at each state's constitution. Every one of them is a little different. Every one of them gives them different rights. So when you are looking for justice and you think, well, the United States Constitution states that I get due process in the 5th and the 14th Amendment, look in your state constitution, because you get it there too. And then the 4th arm of government, the grand jury. The grand jury is an independent arm of government, and it's not administrative. Judicialpedia was launched to explain that and to make that part of our fight in order to get justice. Because right now we have a situation where we have nowhere to go in our government in order to get justice. Everybody is protecting each other. As we are on the crisp of, or in the middle of 2022, I want you to think of how fast and furiously our new president of 2 years ago, Joseph Biden, has changed things in our country. How he's allowing China to buy up our property. How his son and many other sons and daughters of senators and congressmen are just look at our Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, and her husband, Paul, and the multiple insider trading conflicts that are legal according to what the media is saying. Nowhere in the law does it say it's legal, but according to them, it's legal for them to do it. In order to protect the independent rule of law, the availability to access of and to remedies for all without fear or favor, we don't have that in the United States anymore. We need to prevent constitution dissimulation via conflicts in rulings which are against the oath of office and or the laws of the Supreme Court. We need to prevent judges overreaching themselves, even by the standards of the day, through using absurd determination and manipulation to prevent friends and our colleagues from being held accountable to these criminal acts. Thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to talking to you soon.